Today we're going to talk about how to write an equation from a graph. Step 1 is to find the y-intercept. That's where the line hits the y-axis. This also equals b in our equation. Step 2 is to choose another point on the line where the coordinates are integers. And we need to remember that this is a positive or negative whole number. So we don't want any decimals or fractions. Step 3, count the rise. So how many boxes up or down. Step 4 is we count the run. How many boxes left or right. And step 5 is to make our m. So m is the rise over the run. Then step 6 is to plug in what we found for y and b into our equation y equals mx plus b. So the only things that would change in our equation would be the m and the b. The y equals and x stay the same. So here's our first example. We need to find the y-intercept. So that's where the line hits the y-axis. So our line is right here. And where it crosses the y-axis is right on here. So this is our y-axis, and it is labeled in this graph. It is not always labeled, though. So where it hits, we put a dot. And luckily, it's in a perfect corner, so we don't have to deal with any decimals. So for step 1, that y-intercept would be our positive 2. So we would write that in step 1, plus 2. Now for step 2, we need to choose another point where the coordinates are integers. So that means in a perfect corner. You can go left or right. I'm going to give you an example of both. So if we follow the line, we hit another line, and it's not in a perfect corner, so we can't stop there. We have to continue along the line, and we hit a perfect corner. So now we need to make one point here. And if you wanted to go the other way, I'll show you an example. So we can go down the line. We're not at a perfect point yet, so we have to keep going until we hit one, which is right here. And we can make a point. Either way you want is perfectly fine, and you only have to go one way. You don't have to do both. So for step 2, I'm going to write graph points. So for step 3, it says to count the rise. Okay, so the rise is how many boxes up or down it takes to get to that next line. So we like to start at the far left dot. So since we're here, we need to go see how many we go up or down to get to this dot. So I like to use different colors just to help us color coordinate everything. So we go down, and that is where we would hit that next dot. So for our rise, it would be a -1 because we went down 1. Now we need to do the run. The run is how many boxes to the left or to the right. So we're going to trace until we hit our next dot, which is right there. Now we need to count how many lines it took to do that. So we start in this corner and go 1, 2. So our run would be a positive 2 because we went to the right. If we had gone to the left, it would have been a negative. Now step 5 is m equals rise over run. So our rise from step 3 was a -1, and our run from step 4 was a positive 2. So we end up getting -1/2 for m. And now we need to make our equation. We remember we use the y equals mx plus b form, where the y equals and the x never change. So we can go ahead and write that in. Now we need to plug in what we learned from the graph. We learned in step 1 that this equals b. So our positive 2 is our b. So let's go ahead and put plus 2. Now we need our m from step 5. Step 5 says our m is a negative 1/2. And that would be our equation. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Make sure you follow all of the steps very carefully. Do not try to skip and rush through this. If you take the time, it will be a very easy task.